Chapter 10 of The Adventures of Puss in Boots Jr. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mickey Lee Rich. The Adventures of Puss in Boots Jr. by David Cory. Puss in Boots Jr. visits the old woman in the shoe. It was now about high noon, but the air was cool and balmy, for the sun hardly penetrated the deep recesses of the green forest. As Puss trudged along, he sang a little song to himself. Think he must have been something of a poet, for unconsciously his words rhymed, and the air also was of his own making. A little brown wren, who was hopping along on the green moss that covered the floor of the great forest, heard him, and she told it to someone, who afterward told it to me. And this is the way the little song went. Through the woods, the coal woods, the green woods, sweet with balm and fir, to the music of the breeze, singing softly through the trees, this the song I purr. Happy he whose travels far and free, over valley, over hill, over smiling lea. Never weary of the road, happy that he be, just a jolly traveler, wandering like me. As Puss finished his song, he emerged from the woods and found himself upon a broad highway. This must be the road that will lead to my father's house, he said to himself, and joyful proceeded on his journey. In the distance, he saw what looked like a queer little house. But as he drew nearer, he saw it wasn't a house at all, but a big shoe. So many children were playing around, running in and out, that he would have found it difficult to count them, even if he had tried. "Hello!" he called out to a little boy who was the only one who hadn't run into the shoe to tell his mother that a big cat with boots on was coming up the garden walk. "Hello!" Boots Jr. said again, and the little fellow bashfully put out his hand. "You have pretty boots," he said, looking down at them. "Yes," answered their owner. "I'm rather proud of them myself, but what are your little brothers and sisters afraid of?" he added, as he noticed them peeking at him out of the window. "I won't hurt them." Just then, the old woman who lived in the shoe came out, and seeing one of her children talking to a strange cat who wore boots, she hurried up to them and asked, "Are you Puss in Boots?" "No, ma'am, but I'm his son," was the quick reply. "I'm Puss in Boots Jr." "Oh, of course," she said. "I knew your father years ago, and for a moment I forgot how time flies. Yes, we were very good friends in those days. He was a very fine cat." Puss Jr. nodded politely. "Won't you come in?" the old woman asked, turning toward her shoe house. "Though you may find it difficult, as I can hardly find room for all my children. I suppose people think I'm very cross," she continued, as they managed to squeeze past the children in the hallway, "because I give them all a whipping before putting them to bed. But if I didn't, those I put to bed first wouldn't lie still. You see, by the time I get the last one to bed, it's time to take the first one up for breakfast." Puss Jr. felt very sorry for her, as she didn't seem cross a bit, and the children clung to her skirt in a loving manner. "Will you have a bowl of broth?" she asked. "It is about lunchtime, and I am going to give the children some." He thanked her and said he would gladly, as he was hungry and tired. He sat down with the children, who had by this time arranged themselves in a row, each one with an empty bowl in his hands. The broth tasted very good, and Puss Jr. felt so much better after eating it that he proposed a game of tag. They all ran outside and stood around in a ring while he counted, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo," till all were out except himself. "You're it!" the children cried gleefully. What a frolic followed! He finally caught the biggest boy, making believe for some time to miss the little tots, who screamed with fun as he chased them in and out among the trees. It was a different matter, however, when it came to catch Puss Jr. At last, with a jump, he ran up a tree and out on a limb, from which he dangled his red-topped boots over their heads. When everyone gave up, He came down, and after thanking the old woman for her kindness with a flourish and bow, he resumed his journey. End of chapter 10. Read by Mickey Lee Rich.